Live from the House of LeMay Makeup and Dressing Room.
Here comes Amber. Stop what you're doing. Here comes Amber. She's just doing what she can. Here comes Amber. Cue the spotlight. Here comes Amber with 2 drinks in her hand. The matriarch of fashion, secrets to her glasses, you can't look away. Ask her, does she do it? There's really nothing to it. She's got that feminine game. If you have a party, or if you're feeling naughty, call up the House of LeMay. Here comes your favorite gal. Here comes your queen. Here comes the talk of the town. And we're live tonight. The music starts playing, it's time for cabareting on Amber Live tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn off all cell phones and get ready for your host, Amber LeMay.
We are seeing this everywhere. Starlighter in Texas has canceled their drag shows because a far-right independent journalist named Taylor Hanson claimed a child was left unattended at one of the drag queens played with a child's hair. The tweet was shared by an anti-LGBTQ plus organization called Texas Family Project, resulting in others calling the drag queens demonic and making claims that gay people are sexualizing children. Starlighter says that the child was never left unattended. They were the child of a food vendor that was right outside the door of the venue. The vendor even posted a photo thanking the queens for treating their child like a niece. What do we do to stop this madness? It's happening all over. Anti-LGBTQ group This Is Texas Freedom Force is planning to show up to a Christmas drag show in San Antonio. The drag event features a slate of popular drag queens made famous by RuPaul's Drag Race. The same group has shown up at previous drag events, and one of them was carrying a bat wrapped with barbed wire. I doubt these same people showed up at Denton Bible Church in Texas, where Robert Shiflett, the church's now former junior high youth director, sexually abused 14 girls at 2 different churches. Did they protest at Gray's Prairie Mennonite Church in Texas, where in September a jury found Stanley Gerard Champ guilty of contemptuous sexual abuse of a child and sent him to prison for the rest of his life? I'll ask yet again, who would you trust your children with? These monsters or a drag queen? And now for some good news. This weekend in Staten Island, New York, a drag story hour went on as scheduled despite 60 protesters standing outside chanting and holding signs. Meanwhile, inside the Staten Island Children's Museum, drag queen Ms. Lori Liu sat with a group of 50 children and adults reading a series of stories focused on themes of inclusion and tolerance. We need more good news stories. Until then, what do we do to stop this madness? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Amber Live. Have we got a great show for you? But first, I want you to like, share, and subscribe, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, what does Kanye West, gaudy decorations, wine drinking, and Abe Lincoln have in common? They're all a part of this week's news briefs. Yeezy come, Yeezy go. Not sure how many of my audience admired Kanye West so much that they got his image tattooed on their body. But if you did and have some regrets, a tattoo shop in London is ready to help you out. Nama Studios has offered to remove tattoos of the rapper who changed his name to Yee for free of charge. The studio said, when you have a tattoo inspired by someone you admire and they end up making headlines for all the wrong reasons, not everyone can afford to remove their tattoos. The procedure reportedly costs up to $2,400. So the next time you want to have one of your idol's images burned into your body, I have a suggestion. Christmas is just around the corner, and it's amazing what some people do to decorate and commemorate the season. There's these people, and these, oh, and these people, and there are people like these. I think that's a palm tree. I hope that's a palm tree. And the inflatables. But if you're looking for a different way to decorate your house and yourself this holiday season, the folks at Franzia Wine have some suggestions. For you, how about a new sweater and matching wine box? Or if you want to tell your neighbors that box of wine is mighty fine, how about an inflatable box of wine? Nothing says I like to drink more than a 5-foot-tall box of crushed grapes. But sorry to say, they have sold out of these. Maybe next year. Meanwhile, in Springfield, Illinois, decorations have again graced the state capitol rotunda. Every year they ask local groups to come in and add their take to the season. And that includes the Satanic Temple of Illinois. It's not the first time they've been included, but the third. This year's display has a crocheted snake wrapped around apples and a book. The goal of the display was to bring attention to the controversy of banned books. I think Abe would approve. And that's this week's News Briefs. All right, let's get this show on the road. Come on in, Russell.
Hey, Amber, how are you?
Well, I'm doing fine. I am so excited about tonight's show.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a great one.
And I know we have some new people watching, so what's the best way to watch?
Well, the best way to watch Amber live is on YouTube, and that's because on YouTube, Amber is in full HD, and a lot of your friends are over there in the chat room. So during the show, you can chat with them. You can leave messages for us. We'll answer you back. So YouTube is the place to be. But I want to remind everybody about our TikToks, our Instagram, our Facebook, and even our brand new website, amberlive.tv. And if you can't watch Amber, you can always listen to Amber by looking for the Amber Live interviews. And those are podcasts that contain the interview segments of Amber Live. So if you're on your way to work and you want to listen to Amber, we recommend the Amber Live interviews in podcast form. Amber's everywhere. Everywhere. And as you saw at the beginning of the show, our TikToks are really catching on. Oh, yes, they are. We are getting thousands and thousands of new followers and hundreds of thousands of new views. So come on over to TikTok and check out all the fun. And the YouTube shorts as well. Yes. So I want to thank everyone for last Wednesday night. Remember, we got together for Amber Chat, which we are now doing on a once-a-month basis on the first Wednesday of the month, and we had a lot of fun. Oh, we had so much fun catching up with our people from Newfoundland, from Florida, from California, from Ohio, from Illinois, all over the country. People were checking in on us, and it was like a reunion. It was great to see everyone. And I want to say thank you to all of them, and thank you to our bustiers, the people who help keep us going on and keep us online. And that's our super bustiers and our regular bustiers. And if you'd like to become a bustier, you can use that Venmo at RJD Pro, or use your credit card on the amberlive.tv website. Just look for the donate button. And you can give any amount you would like. It's all welcome. But if you give $25 or more, I'll send you a sticker of our logo. For $100 or more, you'll get a sticker and a magnet, while supplies last, of course. And for $200 or more, a sticker, a magnet, and one of our beautiful mugs with the brand new logo on it. And again, use that Venmo at RJD Pro, or go to amberlive.tv and look for the donate button. And thank you all to all of our bustiers, because you've been so much help that you're helping us round out the third season here. And starting in January, we got season 4 of Amber Live, and great new guests lining up already. That's amazing, if you ask me. Totally amazing. You're watching this show for free every week. So, hey, $5 would do us a lot of good. So bring it on in. So, Russell, let's talk about tonight's guest. Well, we have a great guest. We have Jay Rodriguez from the original Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and who was in Uncoupled recently and in Bros. But before all of that, he was on Broadway in Rent, and he was off Broadway in a musical called Zanna Don't. And I saw Zanna Don't, and he told me when I was talking with him that Zanna is actually the thing that he gets stopped the most for on the street other than Queer Eye. He's like, everybody who saw that show, it's like a little cult hit, and it's still being done around the world.
We talked to Jay a couple of weeks ago, and he spent an hour and a half with us. Couldn't have been more gracious, friendly, nice, encouraging. I can't wait for people to see this interview. Let's get it started. For weeks, we've been telling you how excited we were to be interviewing Jay Rodriguez. It's finally here. This is our interview. Jay, come on in.
Hi.
Jay, this is such a pleasure. I've been anticipating this for weeks, and now you are here. Thank you so much.
I feel like I dressed down for this. You look fantastic.
Well, I have no choice. I don't know about you, but I have no choice.
Let me just preface by there's like a group of construction workers that are drilling furiously on the building next door. So if you occasionally hear that, dear listener and viewer, I apologize, and I'll try to keep it muted.
Oh, I think we'll be able to handle it.
Okay.
I think so. So Jay, America first fell in love with you on Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, which is 19 years ago. Oh my God. And recently you've been on Bros and Uncoupled, but where did that start? Tell me about your early youth.
To be honest, I didn't have exposure to the arts growing up. And when I was like an early preteen, like kind of 12, 13-ish, my aunt, who is very theatrical, took my cousin and I to an audition for a local community theater production of Runaways, which was the 80s version of Rent, basically, written by Elizabeth Swato's multi-ethnic cast. And we lived, or this production was being mounted in a predominantly white neighborhood. So my Puerto Rican aunt thought my cousin and I would have a bit of a leg up, because certainly there were Latin roles in this, and we didn't know how many Latin actors would show up. So I auditioned, and my cousin and I auditioned with no music, no scenes, and they just had us improv, which, by the way, when you were a kid improving, we just basically decided to improv about how my grandmother favored me. We sang Happy Birthday as our song, and these kids were musical theater kids. They had headshots and resumes. They were in it to win it. But 2 days later, my aunt said neither one of us got the role. And I was like, how could that be? I did so well. So I called. Turns out I got a part, but my cousin didn't. And she didn't want us to be upset at that. So I ended up doing the show, and it really gave me the bug. I was cast in a leading role. It was my first lead. You get a little bit of the theater bug, and you don't want to stop. And then from there, I just kind of sought out opportunities in high school and junior high. And my church was sort of a mega church, evangelical, 2,500 seats, two services on Sundays. And I became a frequent soloist and a fixture as an entertainer in that community. So the idea of doing Broadway, some houses are much smaller than 2,500 seats. So the audience size didn't really scare me. For me, it was really about thinking, how do I get from Long Island to any kind of thing professional? And so for me, I heard of a charter school in Long Island where your district would pay to send talented students who'd have to audition into somewhat of a fame high school on Long Island. It was called Cultural Arts Center. Now it's called the Long Island Center for Performing Arts. I auditioned for the musical theater program for junior year, got accepted, and I studied there for junior and senior year, giving me the education I would have gotten as a freshman and a sophomore in my first year of musical theater school in college. Theater history, voice training, stage training, dance, music philosophy, all the things that a musical theater, college kid would know. I was kind of coming right out the gate with that when I graduated. And I remember my mom didn't want me to support, she didn't want to support me pursuing the arts. So
let's talk about, you mentioned church, 2 services and all that. I'm sure they had liked you singing at church, but the transition to being a performer otherwise.
Well, this is really fascinating, because it was a pop culture, like the youth group. The music sounded secular, but it just had messages of God in it. So there was certainly not a lot of queer visibility in media in the 90s, and if it was linked to HIV/AIDS, which was important storytelling for the period, but people didn't really have access to seeing LGBTQ plus represented in any other way if it wasn't a trope or linked to HIV/AIDS. So there was a lot of ignorance. And I was coming into my own, but terribly frightened of what these feelings were, because I didn't know what they meant. Internet was for like rich people. I didn't have a home computer, couldn't Google it. We certainly didn't have iPhones. And I just had to sort of try to come to terms with the attraction that I had to men. And, had the stash girlfriend, the mustache, as we used to call it. And, we were Christians, so we had to wait till marriage. And I got off scot-free. And to be honest, when I joined the company of Rent at 18, because I auditioned the summer I graduated high school, basically because I had no other options and they were seeing everyone. And when I got callback, and I got the job, my first kiss was with a co-star at 18. And it was only then that I understood what love songs were scored for. I really didn't have any kind of, it just felt right. I felt like I was amongst a group of entertainers that became elders to me and really kind of guided my naivete about a lot of things. My church my mother specifically didn't believe in having secular things in the house. That included television, movies, music. If it wasn't for the glory of God, it wasn't allowed in. Now imagine you have no connection to the world culture at large, because all you know is your church and your school. Thankfully, people in my high school would give me contraband, aka burnt CDs of musical theater, and we'd write Amy Grant on them, so my mother wouldn't actually go for my collection of music. And that's how I really kind of learned about the world at large, was through theater. Did I think
what was the rest of your family makeup? Did you have siblings?
Yeah, so I grew up as an only child. My mom had me young. Dad left when I was 3 or something, and my mom moved back in with her mother, who raised my mother and I as siblings, because my mom was her youngest daughter. And so in many ways, my grandmother just continued parenting with a bonus child. And I didn't have a fear or a sense of connection to my mother in the way that most people do, because to me, she always felt like a peer. She treated me like an adult. I never got into trouble. And at some point in my teens, the roles switched and I became the parent. It's almost like I succeeded my mother's maturity level, not to anything of her own doing. It's just what life had given her. And she did the best with what she knew. But there came a time where I became exposed to a much larger world that she wasn't exposed to, where I sort of became a bit more of a peer. And that wasn't necessarily the healthiest. And I just wanted anything, more than anything, to escape, to find a place where I could feel not so anxious and stressed out, and like who I wasn't okay. And I found that in theater. I found that in the community that theater represented.
You tried out for Rent. Now, had Rent already been playing, or was this? Tell us about your.
So Rent opened in the spring of 1996. I auditioned in the summer of 97 and booked it in fall of 97. They hired me to open the first international company, which was the Toronto cast of Rent. I was a better option because I think the other option was to be a standby in New York. And while I would have been on Broadway occasionally, there's something magical about working with the original cast and them saying, how would this look on you? How does your body move? Rent isn't diehard choreography in the solo numbers that everyone must follow. They build the choreo based on how you move, and vocally even there's some flexibility based on how you sing. And so, I know that experience is very rare and unlike many other shows, but the piece lent itself to that. So I got that experience working with the full, original team. And when the year-long run ended, they sent me to Broadway to understudy, where I understudied Wilson Cruz and later replaced him, where I did the show there for 4 years. But typical Puerto Rican, I need to have 16 jobs at all times. I would, leave and do a soap or leave and do a play, and even created my own like top 40 sounding, radio sounding cabaret act with a live band.
Right, hold on. You like to talk, don't you?
Oh, New Yorker.
Tell me, those not familiar with the Rent, I know we've all seen Rent, but tell us about your character in that.
Sure. So this is funny, coming from a conservative background, I had no exposure to drag queens other than RuPaul's You Better Work, which everyone knew because they played at the malls and people would sing it. but I didn't quite understand RuPaul. Drag at the time was being weaponized on television as other, and like shows where like there'd be drag queens and trans women and it'd be like, who's the man? And so there was a negative sort of smear to it. But I fell in love with the musical Rent. And when I saw it, snuck out of my house to see it, I didn't even think it was a role I could play. Let's remember that Broadway is the great white way. There weren't a lot of roles, and my high school didn't do West Side Story. I played Bobby and Company. I played Joseph in Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I played young Joe Hardy in Damn Yankees. These are the kind of roles that my school allowed me to play. In my high school, my public school, not the performing arts, they didn't do musicals. I did half day at each. They allowed me to play roles that I wouldn't be cast in. So the idea of being on Broadway, let's remember, was limiting because I just didn't see many Puerto Rican leading men. And so I was nervous about that, but there were in Rent. And so my character is the heart and soul of the show. Angel is a drag entertainer in the show who basically is living with HIV/AIDS at the time where it's very much a death sentence, and people were questioning, how do you move forward? How do you keep your dignity? How do you make it from day to day? And Angel was the light in the show that was no day but today and full of love and help people kind of be their best in all situations. And as they directed you, they always brought it back to that. Angel is love. How can you deliver this with a sense of love? Angel is not, it might have a little sass, but it's never a see you next Tuesday sass. It's always meant to be grounded in love. And if you can make the laughs happen there without being better than as a drag queen, that's the win. Now, what a lot of people don't know is 96, my aunt and my cousin disclosed that they had that they were suffering from AIDS-related complications, and we had no idea they were even HIV positive. So a straight cis woman and her young son, became my window into what that looks like at the time where medicine was still very questionable in the 90s, and we certainly didn't have access to the best care, and sadly they passed. And when they passed, imagine trying to come out, tell your mother and family you're playing a drag queen who dies in the show of the very thing you all watched your aunt slowly pass away from. And so when I was coming out, it was, you want to get that? You're that? And imagine claiming something you've never tried, but you just know to be true. And that was a really tricky moment. And I'm so thankful for the Rent family. And I use that word deliberately because they became surrogate parents, surrogate relatives, and gave me a sense of community, which is what I love about the theater community and the LGBTQ plus community.
What have you taken from your role as Angel that continues to today? That's
a really good question. I mean, I guess I also, there's a lot of tension in the show, and in heightened moments, Angel would diffuse that. I think that's part of my personality too, just to take down the temperature in moments. And we can get so heated and forget why we're even mad. There's our presenting issue of what I tell you why I'm mad, but underneath is probably why I'm really upset. And so for me, I've always tried to kind of approach those situations as like, what's underneath? And let me have compassion that someone right now in this moment is not their best. But if I can push back what they're presenting, I can get to what's really wrong. And I think Angel did that beautifully a couple times in the show. And doing that 8 shows a week for 5 years, you can't help but walk away with some part of that, especially in your formative years, still staying with you.
And Jay, we see that in the work you've done since then. We're going to take a short break now, but we've got lots more to talk about with Jay Rodriguez. Be right back. This is part 1 of our interview. Russell, come on in.
Oh my goodness. So much fun to watch again. It was so much fun to watch and record the first time, but he's just amazing. He really is.
And we have more to come. We have another part of the interview tonight. And then next week, we have 2 more segments of the interview.
We do. And then we actually 3 segments next week. And then we've got tonight, we've still got you singing a song. We've got Rocco, and Lucy Bell's going to make an appearance too tonight. So I hope everybody's ready for all this.
Okay, very good. Very good. And you had one more plug, I think?
I do. I want to remind everyone that now is a great time to become a Super Bustier. 'Tis the giving season, and we need your help. So please use that Venmo at RJD Pro. Send us $5, $10, whatever you can. It's all a big help. Or you can go to amberlive.tv and use the donate button. And thank you to our bustiers once again.
There's an Amber Live update. We received word from loyal Amber Live fan Gary Buck telling us his friend Bullseye the Clown has been doing what he does best, visiting hospitals, orphanages, drug rehab centers, homes for the deaf and blind, anywhere that needs a pick-me-up. Bullseye was a guest here last year and recently returned from a tour of Casablanca and Marrakesh with his good friend Patch Adams. Yes, that Patch Adams. Bullseye and Patch will be heading to Mexico City early next year, and we hope to have him back on the show to talk about his worldly adventures. And now, for something completely different, here's one of my favorite Christmas songs.
Christmas in jail, Christmas in jail. I had a little too much to drink. I couldn't post bail, had to pee in the pail, and I spent New Year's Eve in the clink. I was in the wrong lane, feeling no pain, zoomed my car to 75, ran right into you can guess who, and they say I'm lucky to be alive. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, they were singing in the street, while Lucy Bell's fixing my Christmas turkey. They gave me bread and water to eat. Oh, Christmas in jail, Christmas in jail. I wore my pumps out pacing the floor. I got rocks in my head, oh, wished I was dead. Ain't gonna drink and drive no more. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, that kept ringing in my ear. While everyone was opening their Christmas presents, I didn't have that holiday cheer. Oh, Christmas in jail, Christmas in jail. Life in there was really a bore. I had rocks in my head, oh, wished I was dead. Ain't gonna drink and drive no more, no more. Ain't gonna drink and drive no more, no more. Ain't gonna drink and drive no more. And you shouldn't either, no.
All right, we're back with Jay Rodriguez, and we were just starting to talk about his experience with Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, which was 19 years ago, which is hard to fathom. All right, so how did you hear? Who contacted you, and what happened?
This is weird because it was an agent at my agency that I'd never worked with who was a hosting agent. I never worked with him. I got a call that I had an audition for this thing, but there were no precise references because nothing like it had ever existed. So, now we know Makeover TV. All they could say was Trading Spaces meets The View meets Charlie's Angels meets You All Have to Be Gay. And the All Have to Be Gay thing was tricky because, at that time it was kind of a death sentence in your career if you were out. We had so many people like Amanda Bierce from Married with Children and Ellen who had, faced serious backlash. And but we had Will and Grace on the air. We had Queer Spoke. We had L Word. There was queer representation starting to build. So when Queer Eye, when I first auditioned, it was basically, sitting across from a product placement woman, verbally walking her through what I would think a romantic date would be as a straight guy in New York. She loved my answer and said, "How old are you?" I said, 23. She said, 26. She said, "Where'd you go to college?" I said, "I wanted to, but then I got rent." She said, "You graduated." I want you to give the same answers for a panel at NBC Bravo tomorrow, the executives, and we'll see you there. And I went in. Long boardroom, Bravo on one side, NBC on another, Andy Cohen, the creator and director of the show, at the head of the table. And
you're 23 years old.
23 with white hair because I was in this musical. So I actually looked like yours. I had a little bit of a root. It was great. I liked it. It looked very rock and roll. But, I certainly knew that the show was more elevated. And, I grew up like eating on paper plates. So I didn't really know much about what I would ultimately be doing. But put a pin in that because I'm in this space and I know that this is NBC who does sitcoms and that's all I ever wanted to do is television and act. So I think even if I don't get this, I'll just wow them. And I sit down not knowing what to expect because most auditions expect you to prepare something. And I was not asked to prepare anything. And on either side of me were two chairs, a brightly dressed blonde guy to my right and sort of a gay Buddy Holly to my left. And as the board would ask me a question, these two guys would try to discredit me or kind of mess with my answer, kind of in a biting, pointed tone. And in theater, that's called upstaging. Like, I would have never thought to do that. And I was so incredibly frustrated. And I thought, I'm not going to let them get the better of me. If they want this job, because I thought they were up for the same job, let them have it. But I'm going to be the most memorable. And so I just gave them, quippy remarks back and got the room chuckling and left defeated, and called this agent at my agency who I'd never worked with. I said, listen, I know you don't know me, but I don't ever want to audition for anything like that ever again. I was humiliated. Please don't send me for anything like that again. He said, okay. An hour later, he calls me and says, I guess you didn't do as bad as you thought. You start Monday. That was a Friday. So I still had to do Zanna Don't that night and all weekend, but I know that I'm going to be doing this thing. And I was so excited because I was going to be making $3,500 a week. And I was like, oh my God, that's so much money. And, I was making off-Broadway wages. I'd given up my rent good paycheck for off-Broadway to get on the cast album, to get the reviews. So it was actually money I needed. And I thought, I'll do this little show on a station no one's watching called Bravo. All they have is Inside the Actor's Studio. Like, no one's watching that, So like, no one's ever going to see it. I didn't even think that NBC would put so much money in the marketing behind it that it would become this thing. And once we aired, became a hit after week 1 and 2, they put us right after Will and Grace on NBC. And that's when we really exploded. And within a week, we were on the cover of Entertainment Weekly. Oprah, Ellen, Jay Leno, all wanted us on their shows. We did Vanity Fair. It was a whirlwind, and we were everywhere for that first year.
Now, you weren't the first person to be that the cultural person.
No, I was a replacement. The chemistry wasn't right with the first person for whatever reason. I wasn't there. I can't even speak to it. But, it was tricky. It was a predominantly white run production. And I think, I don't know at that time how much room there was for things that might have come, from a different cultural angle or socioeconomic angle. I know that the show was very aspirational to me because I couldn't afford half of the things that we were giving to these guys. So I didn't understand some of the concepts. And even the title of the role was misleading. It was culture, but ultimately the network decided that I had to do something tangible, physical, and give the guy something for my segment to work. There were also rules on how I appeared. I had to wear a button up because I needed to age up. I could never have facial hair. I couldn't get tattoos. They were parameters on how I presented because we were marketed to be gay superheroes. And, in many ways they protected us in that way by gleaming us to be sort of impenetrable. But I think, for this new cast, what I like is there's so much of who they organically are.
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Let's go back to that picture of
Okay.
Oh, let's talk about this picture. This was our first photo shoot ever before we aired. Carson styled all of us. We hate it. I don't know why I'm wearing a safari jacket with a satin polka dot scarf as an ascot and white cargo pants that were linen with flip-flops. So thanks, Carson. No, it was, listen, that's one of my most dreaded outfits. There was a while where he was dressing me and then I was like, I think I've had enough. Like, I think I have my own sense of style, which I didn't trust at the time because as a theater person and TV person, as an actor, you're given wardrobe and you might have costume designers that are collaborative, but oftentimes it's their vision that you're bringing to life.
How did you interact with those guys? Because they've been together for a while and you were the new person. So how was that?
At first, tricky. Definitely, I got sized up a bit. I was the young person. I was definitely not living an affluent life. Many of them, were a little bit more in the Soho House kind of, country club land. Kyan wasn't. He was a little more granola yoga of the earth kind of guy. Ted was very, fabulous homeowner, very much into interiors, even though he was the food guy. And Carson, fabulous, working for Ralph Lauren as a stylist. And Tom had a multi-million-dollar, interior design business anyway. So They were just people that I probably wouldn't organically cross paths with. But like I said earlier, I'm generally good at like diffusing situations, and I became the peacekeeper younger brother. There was a lot of learning on my part. And the biggest lesson I learned was how to find your voice in a very noisy room and how to take up space, which Carson did a lot. Carson asserted himself as the standout star of our show, and we fell in line. However, going back to the picture that you put up earlier, where I'm wearing the red corduroy vest and the pants, that's Family Feud. That happened February 2020. And when we shot out there, I utilized the skills I learned from Carson, which was to literally create space for yourself and take up space and be unapologetic about it. I came with a mission. I dressed in a power color. I knew that if we placed and we needed one person to give the final answers on Family Feud, that it was going to be me, no matter what anyone said. And I went in there and I won for our team. And I did that deliberately. But the reason why is because for many other people on that show, we played against the new cast of Queer Eye. They're fine. They didn't need to win. I needed this moment on camera. And so I came in and I knew people don't remember me on the show as taking up a whole lot of space. And I want to show them who I am now and what I've grown into. And that means being a little bit more chatty, being a little more funny, and being strategic about how I present myself with these very strong and big personality men. I didn't want to recede in the background is my point. And I didn't. And I've made it a point of that in every project we've done together since. Not in a, I want to, more camera time than you. I just want to be seen in a way I didn't feel seen when we did it the first time. And they're also respectful and supportive of that. It's part of our family dynamic is we've all grown so much in the past 2 decades.
Yeah. Tell me some of your relationships with the other, or give me a one-word definition of Carson.
Carson, generous. I just stayed at his house when I went to the Bros New York City premiere in New York. He let me stay in his beautiful Park Avenue apartment. Just, hey, keys are at the doorman, like make yourself at home. That's Carson. I've seen him physically give the shirt off his back when someone liked it. He is just a generous, kind person. And I think underneath all of the fabulousness is someone with a very huge heart, incredible memory. He'll remember where you're from, something about your hometown, your name, where you met, time of day, weather. He's really a solid guy.
I saw him in Provincetown this past summer, and I just went, "Hi, Carson."
He's very warm.
Yes. But now I'll know. I'll say, I like that shirt, Carson.
You're right off.
All right. How about Ted?
Ted is seemingly reserved and can get easily flustered on set if things aren't going according to plan. And I didn't understand why when I was younger, but now I do. Because when you do something that isn't perfect or up to your personal standards, audiences believe that they are. Unless if you present something on camera, it is 100% your doing. So if you have support staff or anything else, it does need to be perfect because ultimately that is your reputation. I didn't consider that when I was in my early 20s doing the show, but later in life, how I dressed on the show, how I dressed on red carpets, people are like, oh, but you like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I don't. They're like, here's this picture of you. Yeah, you do. And I'm like, I did not know that you would think that would be your takeaway. So I'm mindful of that. And he taught me that. And he is such a kid at heart. I know he's like the oldest of all of us, but he's very, in his own way, incredibly youthful and so wise. And he's like one of my biggest champions. If he sees me in something or he finds out I booked something, he's like proud like an uncle. He's just a really solid guy.
And the other one, the hair guy, I'm sorry.
Ian is still gorgeous. Kyan is still gorgeous. And he's just aging so gracefully. I mean, he's just like the salt of the earth. He's a free bird. He is like he's just like the best. I think.
Does he still have that hair? That hair was.
I don't know. I think he's got longer hair now. Somebody goes in and out of beard, but he's just so beautiful. And he moved back to Florida to be with his ailing mother who passed, and now with his father because his father is getting older. And he's just that guy who's a family man, wants a quiet life. I think if TV came a calling for the right show, he would do it again. But we had it so good on Queer Eye with the most amazing support staff, and our opinion mattered so much that I think he'd have to be a producer and a host. I don't know if Kyan could just like be one of many people on a show. I don't think that's his ministry, which is why I think he left the industry.
Now, is there going to be a 20-year anniversary retrospective?
I think secretly we've all talked about it. I'd love for Netflix to do a capsule collection of the six of us doing what our version of what we believe Queer Eye would be like if we had done it. But I don't want to impede on the brand that exists now. It's theirs. It's their brainchild. However, the five of us together is undeniably magic. So just because we don't do a Queer Eye style makeover doesn't mean we can't do another project together. So I know I have a general with the higher ups at NBC Universal in 2 weeks. And I am going to bring this up because it's important. You know, they did a big thing on Peacock, like a banner for Pride Month. And on this banner, for the first time ever, they had me to promote Queer Eye, just me. And it was out queer people. It was like me, Elvira, all these other people from shows. It was like 4 of us on the banner to click on Pride content. That is the first time in 19 years that they've ever just used me. It's normally just Carson. Yeah. And let me tell you, in the early 2000s, when all my brothers were getting 6-7-figure deals to endorse companies and stuff, every agency, manager, publicist that I met with said, your opportunities are going to be limited. You are queer, you are brown, and you're slightly femme presenting. There just isn't a market for you. You are unmarketable. And now when I see little baby J. Rodriguez's going around who are actually being celebrated for their identities, I'm so happy that we've moved forward, that young people like me have more opportunity to see themselves reflected, that our opportunity to work isn't limited to our identity or the intersectionality of who we are. Instead, it's really celebrating how, even though we are different, so many of us have so much in common. And I think that was one of the beautiful pieces of Queer Eye, is finding out that we had a lot in common with the straight guy, some comedic differences. But at the end of the day, we all, you know, love from a place of truth. And we were able to bond with our straight guys because of that. So my hope is that we do something together. You know, I really, really do, because I think it'd be pulling teeth to get Ted on board because he is very busy at Food Network. Might be a little coaxing on my end with my brother Kyan. Carson would be on board. I think Tom would be on board. But I would like to do it more in the land shot like We're Here, which is shot more like a film, you know, and do it a little bit less, you know, handheldy, over-the-shoulder camera, you know, kind of guerrilla style the way we did back in the day, but a little bit more strategic and play to who we are now. Each of us have grown so much, and we want to show that.
Tell me one of your favorite memories from Queer Eye.
100% the nudist episode. We did a nudist episode, and I was in a bedroom with Carson, and there's 3 cameras usually, plus the cameras that are stationary in kitchens and bathrooms. And a cameraman was following us, and we were like tearing apart this bedroom, and there was a water bed, and Carson turns to me and he's like, I think I want to get nude. And without missing a beat, I was like, I know that this moment might be fleeting, so I'm going to encourage this immediately. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I just literally start undressing him. When I tell you, the man got fully nude on set, ran around the house, and then ran outside thinking he'd be funny. We locked that door so quick, and Carson was butt-ass naked in the middle of New Jersey.
Is that one of his favorite memories of the show?
I like to think so. It's one of our most memorable, especially when we had to break and the producer had to come give us notes and he was still nude. You know, and we had this is one of the things people don't know. We actually had a mostly female-led production crew because the creator and executive producers, 3 men, they moved to LA. They were working with us very infrequently. In my memory, it was like a handful of times, maybe 10 max out of the 100 episodes. But beyond that, we were left with a female showrunner and female, you know, executive producers, which was, I think, why our show kind of came at it with a very balanced perspective, because they knew what they would watch. And our showrunner, Linda Lee, was actually a lesbian. And so we had varying points of view because we had tons of meetings. This is one of the things I want to bring up. I have an Emmy, like, at home for when Queer Eye won Outstanding Reality Show. The New Boys don't. And here's why this is a problem to me. And this is no tea or no shade on the producers, because I'm very thankful for everything that they've given me. But it has to be changed. Here's why. We're Here uses a very similar model where their expertise are working in tandem with the producers. So when the show wins Outstanding Reality Show or gets an accolade, the talent on that show gets an Emmy. The new boys are not included on the list when the show wins. It's only the producers. I know what goes into creating an episode of Queer Eye. And I personally believe that even though the Fab Five, the new group, don't have a producer credit, that they do function as creative producers and creative consultants. And I believe it would be a beautiful gesture if they would add them to the list. There might be politics behind the scenes that I'm unaware of, but I will fight for that, you know, in every production I do, specific where talent lends their creativity in a producer way. And back in the day, I was told, y'all are not producers, y'all are not producers. I've worked long enough in this industry on shows like Queer Eye to know that what we contributed was producing.
Exactly. What you do, they take from you.
And by the way, I say that with like all the love and respect in the world, because the other day I was searching for furniture and I saw there was a Queer Eye collection. I screen grabbed it, sent it to the producer of the show and was like, wouldn't it be funny if I bought this? And they were like, we'll just send you pieces if you want. Don't. And I was like, finally, some free stuff from Queer Eye. So I have some furniture pieces from them. And, you know, look, one of the things that I struggle with is, you know, I do have some like quiet resentments about that time, about how there was so much equity for the other guys in building their futures financially and professionally. But when I left Queer Eye, I had the stain of reality TV, and I was now a wannabe actor, negating my half a decade as an actor before in TV, film, and stage. And I had to start over. Queer Eye didn't give me a leg up in this industry. It hurt me. And so I had to really climb for the past 16 years here in LA to make a name for myself. Now my resume is undeniable. And even though it's episodics and people might miss it when I do 2 episodes here or play a murderer here or play a straight guy here, when I'm submitting, when my agents push me for things, I have no problem getting auditions. But that's because of determination and hard work. It has nothing to do with the fact that I was on Queer Eye. And so I look back at that time and I'm like, man, it would have been so cool if like some brand had like given me $1 million or whatever. I would own a house, or, you know, I do have memories of that. But I'll tell you where the commerce came for me. The commerce came with every single DM person at the airport, everywhere I go, people stopping me with welled up eyes saying, because of you, it was safe for me to come out. Because of you, I better understood my family member. Because seeing you on television made me want to pursue this because I thought there's room for me there. That is where the commerce paid. And going back to the shows that I've done with purpose, all of them had a charitable angle. Rent, it was Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS. Same thing for all the stage work. So part of these platforms that I've gotten, it's like, if you have a platform, you have to use it for good. You have to use your voice to help shine light on issues and causes that you believe in that need your help.
Jay, thank you so much. That is great. So we'll close out Queer Eye, and we're going to jump a couple of years to find out what you've done since then in the next segment. Thank you so much. That's all of the Jay Rodriguez interview for tonight. But next week, we have 3 more segments. So come back next week. With this being the holiday season, we all have our traditions that we hold dear. And our good friend Lucy Bellamé wants to tell us about one of her holiday traditions.
Bitchin' in the kitchen with Lucy Bell.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bitchin' in the Kitchen. Yes, they let me have another episode. Yes, it's the holiday. Happy holidays. And I hope you all have a Merry, Merry Christmas. I know we're all spending it by ourselves, but we can make the best of it. This is a good time that you can make like homemade ornaments or special cards to send to special people. I've been pulling out all my Lucy Bell ornaments. Aren't these the cutest little things? Oh, love my Lucy Bell ornaments. Oh, you know what? We really can't start this yet. We got to have a cocktail. And my cocktail today is, you just take a pack of hot chocolate and a shot of rum chata, and you got yourself some great hot chocolate. Oh, that rum chata is one of the greatest inventions ever. I have to say, one of my special ornaments is the okra angel. Oh, yes. So this year, I'm going to show you how to make an okra angel. If you have any okra pods laying around, they got to be dry. You need some wooden balls for the head, a little Spanish moss, some ribbons for the wings, and of course, hot glue gun. Oh, yeah. And you need a little Sharpie pen because you don't want a magic marker or anything like that. It'll make it too bloggy and just run together. You should always have a first aid station set up because when you're playing with the hot glue gun, you're gonna get burned. Now, I know right off already that I'm gonna burn myself, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a Band-Aid on my middle finger on my left hand because that's what I use to press everything with. I'm gonna start with the head. The little wooden ball first, please. Take your wooden ball, and what you want to do is you put hot glue all the way around where you want the hair to go. Ouch, ouch, see? Oh, I've already burned myself. Oh my goodness. Take some heat moss, just slap it on top. It's gonna look ratty right now, but it's gonna fall into shape, trust me. Okay, into the honey. Now you let that honey sit on that burn for 1 hour. If you need to, you can cover it with a Band-Aid if you want, but just leave it there. That way you keep it from blistering and the pain will go away. And if you want to, you can just lick it off. So good. We're gonna draw the face. I'll go here where you can see. And you just want to make you a couple of eyes. So take a little pipe cleaner, silver, wrap it around your finger, and twist. See, you got a perfect little halo there. I'm gonna cut that off. Hot glue it to the back of the head. Ouch. So much for the Band-Aid. Ouch. A little ratty right now, but it's gonna take shape, trust me. So put a lot of glue right on top of that okra pot. And then you're gonna take your head and glue it. Stick it right on there, just like so. Yeah. So you're gonna take you about a foot or so of ribbon and you're gonna third it. I'm gonna fold it this way and then double it back over this way. Take it, see, you got that, and then you just twist it. Put a big old glob of glue on there. Ouch! There, see? Ouch! There. Now, is that not cute? That's the cutest thing you ever seen. Trust me, if someone gives you an ochre angel, you should really appreciate it because I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of love, pain, and suffering that goes into making these ochre angels. My bitch this week would have to be, I am kind of upset with Mayor Bibbs Fisk because a year or so ago, she signed this law into Beaver Pond, and she informed us that all of our Christmas lights and decorations have to be down and out of sight no later than by the 4th of July. Oh, Mayor. Well, anyway, we're still going to have a very happy holiday and a Merry Christmas. And I wish all of you a very, very Merry Christmas.
And I'm very fortunate that Lucy Bell gave me my own okra angel. Oh, that's great. Now, this is a recorded show, so I'm not sure what Rocco has in store for us. Let's find out together. Hey, it's Rocco's House of Holy Shit Christmas Blowout, the place for all your Christmas and home protection needs. What better way to celebrate the birth of Christ than to arm yourself heavily with some Christmas and home protection items, such as the wreath that's also a sheath for your favorite knife. Pull it out on some unsuspecting carolers as they trespass on your lawn. Say, not on my lawn, you singing bastards. With these shoes, you can lose. Take out any armed assailant with your mistletoes right from the comfort of your own chair. Silent night, my ass. Now with the very merry bazooka, it's great for stopping your neighbor's noisy Christmas party that you weren't even invited to. Oh no, it's stranger danger in the manger. Yeah, who are these three guys just showing up? Get rid of them with some frankincense scented tear gas. That'll teach him to bother your newborn. You want your fireplace glowing all night, and you want to keep out those unwanted Santas? Then you need to pick up the Yule log flamethrower. So don't get into a fight. Strangle somebody with Christmas lights. Hey, order now, and you can get yourself your free Christmas ornament grenade. Hey, Rocco's House of Holy Shit, the place where Santa and Jesus shop.
Love that Rocco.
We never know what to expect from Rocco, but we do know what to expect next week. That's the continuation of our interview with Jay Rodriguez and some more Christmas fun too. So see you next week. Bye-bye.
Hey, Shug! What do Amber and a vacuum have in common?
I don't know. What do Amber and a vacuum have in common?
I don't know.